This is considered one of the most dangerous places on Earth. After the nuclear disaster in 1986, this entire region was abandoned and left empty. Even decades later, the area remains restricted, now known as the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. During the day, it looks like nothing more than a forgotten city. Collapsed buildings, rusted playgrounds, and apartment blocks where no one has lived for years. But after dark, the stories begin to change. Some visitors who entered this place claim they witnessed things they could not explain. Footsteps echoing inside empty buildings, shadows moving behind broken windows where no one should be, and strange footage captured deep inside the ruins. Some people say these reports are nothing more than imagination, but others believe something unexplained still lingers here. For decades, stories like these have continued to appear. So what is really happening inside this abandoned zone? These are some of the most mysterious incidents ever reported in Chernobyl. September 18th, 2010. An explorer entered the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone to document the abandoned city of Pripyat. At the time, many urban explorers had begun visiting the area to film the remains of the deserted Soviet city. The explorer was recording video inside an old apartment building. Broken windows, dust-covered hallways, rooms that had been empty for decades. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a typical exploration of an abandoned place. But later, when the footage was reviewed, something unusual appeared in the video. In the recording, the explorer slowly walks through a dark hallway. The camera pans across the empty corridor and damaged walls. For a moment, everything seems completely still. Then something appears to move at the far end of the hallway. At first glance, it looks like a shadow, but several viewers believe a human-shaped figure briefly appears before disappearing behind the corner. A few days later, the explorer returned to the same building. He wanted to investigate the hallway where the strange figure had appeared in the footage. According to his last online post, he planned to spend several hours documenting the building. But after that day, he was never heard from again. The final footage he uploaded shows him entering the building once more. After that video, there were no further updates. Months later, a photograph began circulating online. The image was reportedly taken inside the same apartment building. At the far end of the hallway, a faint figure appears to be standing near the wall. Some people believe it is only a shadow created by the broken windows. Others believe it may show something else entirely. Some even speculate that the figure could be the missing explorer. To this day, no one knows what happened to the explorer. However, reports like this are not uncommon in the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. Visitors have claimed to hear footsteps inside empty buildings. Others say they have seen figures moving through the ruins. Whether these stories are real or not remains unclear. But this would not be the only strange incident reported in Chernobyl. Several years later, another unexplained event would be recorded in the exclusion zone. May 21st, 2012. A French photographer entered the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone to document the abandoned amusement park in Pripyat. The park had been empty for decades. Rusting rides, broken ticket booths, and the famous Ferris wheel that never officially opened. The photographer began taking wide landscape shots of the park from a distance. At first, the images appeared to show nothing unusual, but while reviewing the photos later, one particular image stood out. The photograph was taken from far across the park. In the distance, along one of the old pathways, two small figures appear. At first, they are difficult to notice, but when the image is enlarged, it looks like an adult figure standing beside a child. The two shapes appear to be standing close together. Some viewers believe it even looks like an adult holding the child's hand. But according to the photographer, no one else was present in the park that day. The Chernobyl Exclusion Zone is a highly restricted area. Visitors are only allowed to enter with special permission, and children are almost never allowed inside the zone. Other explorers who were nearby that day also confirmed that the park appeared completely empty. Yet the photograph clearly shows two human-like figures standing on the path. No one has been able to explain who they might be. The photograph soon began circulating online. Many people zoomed in on the distant shapes. Some believe the figures are simply trees or shadows distorted by distance. Others insist the image clearly shows a person standing next to a child. Even today, the origin of the figures remains uncertain. But the image continues to raise one unsettling question. Photographs like this continue to appear in Chernobyl. Images showing human-like shapes in places where no one should be, in an abandoned city that has been empty for decades. So the question remains, who could possibly still be there? Many people became particularly interested in the child seen in this photograph. For more than 30 years, this city has been considered uninhabitable. So how could a child appear in a photograph taken here? No one knows exactly what the image shows, but some believe it may not be a simple visual illusion. Some speculate that the photograph may capture a trace of someone who once lived in Chernobyl before the disaster. Several years later, another strange incident was reportedly connected to the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. This story is said to have taken place inside an abandoned school building that still stands within the restricted area. After the Chernobyl disaster, many schools in the region were suddenly closed. Classrooms, hallways, and playgrounds were left exactly as they were. According to reports, some of these buildings have remained untouched for decades. Even today, a number of abandoned school buildings can still be found inside the exclusion zone. One explorer reportedly entered one of these abandoned schools to document the interior of the building. Cold air was said to be moving through the broken windows. Dust had settled across the long hallways. Inside the classrooms, old desks and scattered books were still lying where they had been left. The explorer was slowly walking through the corridor while recording the building. At that moment, a strange sound was reportedly heard coming from the floor above. At first, it sounded like nothing more than the building shifting. But a few seconds later, the sound became clearer. It reportedly sounded like footsteps, as if someone was slowly walking along the hallway upstairs. But according to the explorer, there was no one else inside the building. The explorer reportedly decided to check where the sound was coming from. He began walking toward the staircase that led to the second floor. However, when he reached the stairs, he was reportedly surprised by what he saw. The entrance to the staircase leading to the second floor was completely blocked. Collapsed debris and broken furniture had piled up, making it impossible to go upstairs. Yet according to the explorer, the footsteps had clearly come from the second floor just moments earlier. The explorer reportedly stood there for a moment looking around the empty hallway. Then, according to his account, the sound was heard again. Footsteps. This time, slower, as if someone was walking carefully across the floor above. But according to the explorer, there was still only one person inside the building, himself. After the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, large areas surrounding the power plant were abandoned. For decades, the forests inside the exclusion zone remained mostly untouched by human activity. Over time, wildlife slowly returned to the region. Wolves, deer, wild boars, and many other animals are now known to live inside the forests of the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. However, some explorers and visitors have claimed that not all animals seen in these forests appear normal. Over the years, there have been several reports of strange creatures moving through the area, and one particular video recorded inside the forest has continued to raise questions. According to the report, the footage was recorded by a visitor who was exploring one of the forest paths inside the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. The camera was slowly moving through the trees, documenting the quiet landscape of the abandoned region. The video shows tall trees, dense vegetation, and a forest floor covered with fallen leaves. The area appeared completely silent. Only the sound of wind moving through the branches could be heard. But at one moment during the recording, the person filming reportedly heard something unusual behind them. It sounded like someone stepping on dry leaves. At first, it was assumed that it was simply a wild animal moving through the forest, but the sound seemed to be getting closer. The person filming slowly turned the camera toward the direction of the sound, and at that moment, something unusual appeared between the trees. At first, the figure was difficult to see clearly. It looked almost like a shadow moving through the forest. But after a few seconds, the shape became slightly more visible. According to the person recording the video, the creature did not resemble any normal animal found in the area. Its body appeared unusually thin, and its legs looked much longer than those of most animals living in the forest. The person filming reportedly zoomed in with the camera to get a closer look. At that moment, the creature suddenly stopped moving. For a few seconds, it stood between the trees. Then slowly, the creature turned its head in the direction of the camera. According to the witness, its face did not resemble a wolf, a deer, or any other known animal. For several seconds, the camera continued recording the strange figure standing inside the forest, but only a moment later, the creature suddenly turned and moved quickly deeper into the forest. Within seconds, it completely disappeared between the trees. Nothing else appeared in the video after that moment. However, the footage has continued to circulate among explorers and researchers who study the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. To this day, no one has been able to explain exactly what was recorded in that forest, and some people believe that the forests surrounding Chernobyl may still hide creatures that have never been fully identified. Thank you for watching. On this channel, we will continue to share unexplained mysteries and recorded horror stories from around the world. If you don't want to miss these stories, make sure to subscribe to CreepyBoo666 and turn on notifications for future uploads. The channel also features short horror moments and mysterious clips in our shorts, so be sure to check those out as well. Until next time.